Everybody still needs their insurance. You have to pay for it. About 3 weeks later, he files a claim that the bear rug was stolen. You're already spending money to rent a car. Last thing you want to do is spend another $20, $30, $35, $40 a day to have full coverage.
Why do you think money changes people?
Is he going to go home and tell his wife or significant other that, hey, I just got hit by this and I'm going to sue them? The question is now, if my insurance rates are going to go up? It was one of those things that you're like, oh my God, it's a strip club. It is going to be dirty. It's going to be gross.
Is there any insurance for someone to have a business through social media?
Who's paying for all of that? Increases in homeowners insurance, the wildfire areas, big trucks, they deliver stuff. And never had an accident, never had anything. I have been doing this for 36 years and I've never seen increases like this. Hi, my name is Rob Samato with Samato Insurance. I'm an independent insurance agency owner, and this is the Last Dollar Show.
One take, baby. I love it, Rob. All right, Rob, so when someone says they've insured it all, you know, you are the person who actually has. You've done massage envy parlors, you've done monster trucks, you do everything, home, auto, you name it, you insure it. So just to give everybody a background on yourself, you know, what do you do?
We insure, as you guys have said, from the monster truck shows to massage envy. I wrote the program back then when they first started. We take care of people's, their auto, their home, their umbrella, and we mostly focus on their commercial. I love writing commercial insurance.
So what is commercial insurance?
Commercial insurance is coverage for your business, such as general liability, workers' comp, and commercial auto.
So if you own like a donut shop, why would you get commercial insurance?
Oh, well, you would definitely want to get coverage for people that, if their customers are coming in, maybe a trip and fall, that would be a general liability. You have employees, such as you need workers' compensation. And if you have a delivery truck delivering the donuts, you definitely would want to have commercial auto.
Okay. So so in a sense, when you see somebody do like a slip and fall case where they're going to, I don't know, they're going to make it look like they fell in a grocery store, is in a sense, they're going after that commercial policy, because that's why a grocery store would have it, is to ensure that you're not going to be liable if somebody slips on a wet spot in a grocery store.
Absolutely. That is correct.
Okay, awesome. So obviously, commercial insurance, it sounds like there's a ton of different things. What's the weirdest thing you've ever insured?
The weirdest thing I've ever insured, there was this, it was a vehicle. It was a chicken on top of a car, and the guy drove around in this car, and he owned a chicken restaurant, and it was like a float on top of a car, but this was his normal car that he drove around all day long, and it was huge.
So Rob, how'd you get started, 5 years ago, right? Because you just got started 5 years ago.
No. I love it. 5 years ago plus 31 years. So yeah, 36 years ago, I got started back in 1990, if you can believe that. My father owned an all-state agency and went independent, and then I came on board a couple of years after that and never left. It's one of those things. It's kind of like being in the mafia. Once you get in the insurance, it's definitely a thing that you can't leave.
How was it like work? I mean, how was the learning process when you first got started? Like, I mean, you're working for your dad had the agency. So like, what was that like?
I mean, we watch YouTube videos. There's so much information out there, but getting started back then, like, yeah, how'd you learn?
Back then, we used binders, and everything was like in notebooks. And you went down the line, and someone was 18, and they had this kind of a vehicle, and then they had one accident. You kind of used that guide, and then went to flip the page to go to another section where you would have your liability sections or your comp and collision section. It's not anything like today, is where everything is on the internet or in a system. It was way different back then. We actually had to complete applications by hand, fill them out, mail them to the carriers with a down payment check, send it back. If there was anything wrong or what they found, then they send it back to us. We would get declarations pages along with, hey, this is going to change because we found out that the guy had a DUI or he had more tickets than what was said. Then we would have to get on the phone, which back in the day, the landlines we had to call the customer up, or most customers actually came into the office, which is not the way it is today.
So you see a lot of people get their insurance policies, and I don't know, Geico's big thing is like 15 minutes or less. Back then, how long did it take to, in a sense, get a policy issued?
We actually issued policies right then and there. When you actually completed the application, signed it, it was a boundable policy right then and there. But it took at least probably a week to get the declarations page. We had to actually use a typewriter and type out the identification card so that you can drive away and have your proof of insurance.
Wow. So working with your dad, obviously a lot of people end up having to work with family. You know, you're getting into a family business. How was that for you?
It was awesome. How I got started in the insurance business is I was working at Olive Garden, and my mom called and said, hey, you know what? I know that you want to start a career or do something. Maybe you start getting in the insurance business. Go meet with your dad, sit down with him, and talk to him about learning and understanding how insurance works. Well, when I first got in there, my dad had me filing. So I quit right off the bat because I'm not a good filer. Paper cuts, all that fun stuff. Back in the day, we used to have drawers and drawers and drawers of files. But then I went back again the second time, and my dad took me to the independent insurance, which is called the Big I, where you meet all the carriers, you meet everybody, your marketing reps. From there, it was like a big party. And from there on, and I can elaborate more later if we need to, but that got me triggered into this was fun. This was something that I wanted to get into. And I got to be with my dad for the first 15 years until then he retired. And then I went on and bought and sold more agencies.
So for someone who wants to get into the insurance industry, obviously you started when you were 20 years old. You know, what would you tell them that they should consider getting into this industry?
The fringe benefits of being an independent insurance agent, especially for me, is freedom, but you also have to have commitment to yourself because it is sales and it is commission based. I do not offer a salary but I'll give all the tools. I have all the background information. We have everything to get someone to be very successful. This is not going to be like a quick thing overnight where you're going to make money. As you guys know, with sales, you gotta grind it out in order for you to become very successful.
Yeah, I think that's what Ben and I learned early on in our insurance agency was there's so many no's, especially when you're first starting out. You think you're going to have all this great marketing that comes out and your phone's going to ring off the hook. Then it's your first day of actually working on your business and the phone doesn't ring. Yep. Nobody wants your services. You make 50 cold calls. No one picks up. 2 guys cuss you out. So for someone who they just got their insurance agency, what would you say or their insurance license, what would you say the first step is that they should take?
They need to find an insurance carrier, like a direct writer, like State Farm or an Allstate, or look for an independent agency in their area and be open to different types of contracts. Going out, owning your own business, starting it out on your own, there is, as you just mentioned, there is so much that you don't know about instead of just going out there and trying to make phone calls. So to get lined up with myself and my agency, we've already been there. We've done it. We can teach people how to get the opportunity or how to get leads in the door. And instead of working on your business, you're working in your business. Or is that vice versa, working in your business instead of on your business?
Yeah. So you worked with a wide range of businesses. I mean, we've talked about, massage parlors. You do a lot with monster trucks. Yeah. Talk a little bit about the monster trucks because I think that's really interesting. I mean, I used to go to Monster Jam all the time. I'd go see Gravedigger. I'd go see the I think it was like a dinosaur truck. Yep. But tell me how you got into the monster trucks.
I got into the monster trucks probably about 18 years ago. A friend of mine had invited me to go to a show with him and to help him out with the merchandise. And I then built my relationship with the owner of the monster truck organization called Monster X Tour, Nitro Tour. And from there, it was something that I was able to do. Owning my own insurance agency, I was also able to go out and help those guys and help them grow their merchandise side.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so what does that look like insuring monster trucks? I mean, obviously they're going to get ripped to shreds. I mean, I remember I'd sit through and then I'd be just excited for the demolition derby at the end. But obviously monster trucks are going to get torn up throughout the show. What does that look like insuring them? I mean, in a sense, what are you insuring?
We are actually insuring them when they're in transit, when they're in the haulers. We also insure the trucks. We insure not the event. If there's something that happens where the trucks jump and they land and they break an axle or they destroy a motor or whatever, that's not covered on an insurance policy. What's covered on the insurance policy is if the truck gets tilted, tips, lands, and runs into a wall, or something goes flying into the stands or anything like that. That's where we come in for the insurance part, but not the truck itself while it is being used for the event.
What's your craziest story that you've seen at a monster truck show?
You haven't had anyone die, right?
Not on my watch or mine, but there have been situations where there has been a wheel that fell off and flew into the stands. So,
wow.
Yeah, that is some crazy. I've seen people get run over because you've got the track guy that is flagging the people down and controlling them, and the guy backed up and didn't see him and rolled over.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's something that like,
It happens.
Yeah, like
With motorsports,
Yeah.
you just don't know what's going to happen. You'll start with 6 trucks at the beginning of an event. 2 of them blow an axle, 2 of them blow a motor, catch on fire. I mean, there's you name it. You ask a question, I'm sure it's happened.
so like the guy you work with that runs these, I mean, does he just build it into his, like, I guess his expenses that you're going to have like an axle, you're going to have an engine blow, things of that nature?
Yep, there are so many things that are at the event. That's why they have these big diesel haulers that just have all their stuff in there. They kind of know what's going to break going forward. Now, if an engine blows, it's not like we carry around engines, but yeah, when a tie rod or suspension, all that other stuff, things break, those guys are amazing. They can go back there and fix that stuff and then have it ready for the next show.
So like, does he have like a mechanic on call then?
Oh, they are. Most of the drivers are mechanics. They
Oh,
are
no
the driver,
way.
they're mechanics. They also have helpers that are full-blown mechanics and not drivers. So yeah, it's a full team.
Are the people who like drive these trucks, are they working full time? Is that a full time
They
job?
work full-time. Oh yeah. So when you look back in the day where a carny, right? Or you call them carnies, where they follow each other and they go to the next show from one show to the next show. Yeah, they're all pretty much heading out to the next venue, and they're all got their diesels or their motorhomes that they're pulling, and then they all group together. They all help each other. If someone breaks something, and in between intermission or whatever, you got people running over there helping them out, and
Is it lucrative for them? Like, it's not like comparable to a carny, right?
I think they do very well
Okay.
for themselves.
Yeah,
And plus, you know what? At the end of the day, they love doing this.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, they live on the road. They have these things called toters, which are pulling the trailers, and they live in there. They're always, so like when they go from Northern California all the way to Southern California, because that's where our next show is, they actually drive early. They get there on like a Tuesday, and then they kind of set their stuff up, and they're barbecuing, and they're all getting the trucks out and all the stuff they need for the show to happen on Friday and Saturday. It's more interesting than insurance, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like,
What's
been a while.
What's the average age? I mean, like, what's the average, like, in a sense, lifespan for a career like that?
I
Are
will
dudes doing this for like their whole lives, or is it like really?
Yeah. There's guys that are still in the 50s, 60s, 70s that are still doing it. And then there's this one kid who drives what they call juvenile destruction. It's a mini monster truck. He's 10 years old, and he drives his little mini monster truck crazy, jumping, doing, what do they call them? Burnouts and things like that on the dirt. I mean, it's crazy. So yeah, from age 9, 10 to whenever they want to call it quits. And you got people that want to quit, and then they quit for a little bit, They don't know what to do with themselves. They're
yeah,
actually
and they-
doing
yeah,
other
yeah.
things.
It honestly sounds like pro athletes.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Are most of them like single? Do they have families on the road?
Yeah, they have families on the road. In fact, one of
Wow.
the guys just got married. They have 4 kids together. She's at home. He's working. She comes and visits him. And then when he has an off weekend, then he goes home and they just make it work.
Dang, that's
It's
awesome.
tough, man. It's a tough life. For me, when I go, I fly,
Yeah.
I'm not flying first class,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah.
going. I get to see cities and states that I've never been in. I've been across the country, as I said before, and it's one of those things that I have built my insurance agency based off of people that I've met through there too. So that is a big thing. When I go to these shows, I talk to the venues. I want them, when their insurance policies come up, I ask them for it and they send me their policies and I can. So it's not about me just even owning that merchandise side. I actually go and build the relationships with everyone every time I go.
Jeez.
How'd you get in? I mean, how did you get into the monster trucks?
It was one of those things where I said before it was on a fluke where a guy was like, hey, why don't you come to this event? And then they need insurance, why don't you go talk with them? And then I went and helped out with the merchandise, talked to him about his insurance. And he said, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody wants to save money, right? Especially how much those guys pay for this. The insurance part, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of coverages that you need to make sure you have. And especially like with the state of California, they want a $5 million excess liability. The insurance premiums are very, very high. They're very expensive. Participants, anyone that's coming out on the track, you want to make sure if they're participating in the event, you want to make sure you have participant insurance. As I said before, the general liability is a must to get into any of these events. Then you have to have the commercial auto to cover the trucks, the toters, everything that's being pulled. But yeah,
Is California the hardest state to get insured in?
California and Oregon, if you can believe it. Oregon, they have a lot of requirements so we call this a certificate of insurance. So we usually, it is a declarations page. What it is it shows that the coverages that are required by each venue, what they need. They send us a list and then they go through their list and we go ahead and do a certificate of insurance. But with Oregon and California, they want to be listed on the policy itself. So that's a separate
Like the state?
endorsement. Yeah, the state or the city or the state or the venue, depending on what it is.
Wow.
They want it to be all on you for renting their facility. If anything ever comes back, they don't want to be liable at all.
Wow, that's crazy. So, I mean, obviously, all the wildfires and everything happened in California. I know State Farm caught a bunch of heat because they supposedly pulled fire coverage a month before. Break down logistically, like what does that look like? Like, did that actually happen? Are they able to do that?
I can't talk for State Farm. I don't represent them, but you're not wrong. That State Farm they can pull out of the state. I'm not exactly sure how long they have to give. They can pull out of the homeowners. They can set up for non-renewal, which they did. They're pulling out of a lot of different states. There's a lot of companies now that are either pulling out or we've all seen it the last 2 years, the increases in homeowners insurance, the wildfire areas. I mean, there's parts of Phoenix that are considered wildfire, even though they're really not. I mean, you got these normal homes that are built in developments that you can't get insurance because you're in that zip code until they actually do a deep down dive to make sure that they actually can see, oh, okay, yeah, the fire department's within 2 to 5 miles, the fire hydrant's within 100 yards, 200 yards of the houses. And if it's not it has to be a local fire department. It can't be one of the, now I can't think of the name of
Volunteer.
yeah, like volunteer. You cannot be in a volunteer. Like in fire season, in like the summertime, when it's hot here, that's when, everything's dry. So the insurance companies are looking at that thinking, all right, well, we don't want to use this. They'll put a wildfire hazard and they will not let us bind any policies, even though we have policies that we're going to bind, let's say in 2 weeks. But if they put a restriction on it right now, that person could lose their house, the opportunity of losing the loan. If let's say they just bought the home and we're going to put the insurance policy in place, nope. You got to wait. You got to wait for that to be lifted. Now, there are some carriers that will write it, but if you're normally paying $2,000-$3,000 a year for your homeowner's insurance, and what it should have cost, could possibly be $6,000 to $10,000, and the coverages are very, very slim.
Wow.
They don't offer your full coverages as you would with a normal homeowner's policy.
Wow. I think that's a lot of the times people, when you see whenever I see my auto renewal and it's more, you always go, what's going on? I'm just going to go shop my rates. What's happening with rates right now? Why is everything so expensive?
Everything is, right now it's stabilizing. The last year and a half, 2 years, I have been doing this for 36 years and I've never seen increases like this. Because of the fires, because of the tariffs, because of the cost of everything going up. To replace that is exactly why the insurance costs are going up. So your house and the market is a huge thing. As you know, that when the interest rates were low and now they're high again, and the cost of rebuilding, to getting the wood, to getting the cement to your automobiles, to get it from another country to get it here, everything just costs more. And then the insurance prices have to go up to offset that in order for you to get your vehicle back to its original.
Have you insured strip clubs?
I have.
Can we talk about that?
Sure.
All right.
It's not all it's cracked up to be, but I will tell you exactly. And if you want to put it on there, you might not want to, but
okay.
It's kind of funny.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
Heck yeah.
So I've heard you've insured strip clubs. Obviously everybody, when you think of a strip club, it's going to be dirty. It's going to be nasty. How did you get involved with that?
I got involved with it with one of my agents years ago. He knew the owner of a strip club here in the States, or here in Arizona. And I went in to discuss it with him to see what coverages he had and
At their
why.
buffet.
Yeah, exactly. At the buffet.
At the breakfast buffet.
Yeah. But no, it was one of those things that you're like, oh my God, it's a strip club. It is going to be dirty. It's going to be gross or whatever. It's like a normal place when you turn the lights on, but when you turn it off at night, it's just totally different. Now, what I will say about a strip club is guys are going in there to do whatever they want to do. Probably won't have many insurance claims because the last thing they want to do is a girl swinging on a pole and gets hit in the face with one of her long stilettos. And guess what? Is he going to go home and tell his wife or significant other that, hey, I just got hit by this and I'm going to sue them? No, probably not going to happen. So
compared to like a normal business, was it pretty normal amount of insurance they had to get, or?
no, the rates are very high. As you guys know, strip clubs or nightclubs or anything like that, the liability is through the roof. There's so many things that can happen. In fact, there was a situation where two guys are at a bar. They walk up to the bar, and I guess they had a past, and they didn't like each other. Well, one guy decided to go ahead and proceed and hit the other guy over the head with a beer bottle. The other guy punched him and killed him instantly. And that is unfortunate that happened, but insurance has to pick that up. So that is why you want to make sure you have insurance. Now, you guys have seen on the news where strip clubs or nightclubs, and they have all these things, and they have these double deckers, or they have a porch, and the porch falls and people get hurt. That happens. When you have liquor involved, things just go crazy. My father always said nothing good happens after 10 o'clock at night off a weekend. So
Shouldn't
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I'm in bed by that time anyway.
Yeah,
So.
attaboy.
Yeah. So anytime alcohol is at a business is involved, I'm guessing that jacks up the rates immediately.
100%. I have a lot of restaurants that have a lot of great food and liquor. Now, it also depends. You got your high-end steakhouse. You're paying a lot of money for the bottle of wine. You would want to be under 30% your liquor to food sales. At a restaurant, like a high-end restaurant, it's not as bad as it would be as call it a nightclub, or more of like a restaurant that turns into a nightclub. There's different types of businesses that you want to have your liquor lower than your food sales. And if you so there's different types of liquor licenses. You got your 6, you got your 12. Your 12 is your liquor and your food. A 6 is just straight liquor. That costs more to get a Series 6 license to have straight there. I don't know if they used to be selling those. It's hard to get a 6, but you're more of a Lucy's at the Orchard, or Lucy's at the Grove, or it's more of like a breakfast place, a lunch place, and a dinner place. They do also serve alcohol. So their rates are not going to be that expensive to insure. But when you group everything together, such as your general liability, your workers' comp, the liquor sales, food sales, you get all of that. That's how you come up with the rate. And based off of their total sales is how you come up with their insurance rate.
Okay, so I got an off the wall type of question. So like social media is obviously getting massive. Is there any insurance for someone to have a business through social media? Like, what would they do? Like, if they have a podcast, or they have the Modern Day Strip Club and OnlyFans, what would someone need? Would they need insurance for that? Like,
everybody needs insurance, because what if you slander or libel someone? That's a professional liability. That's where you would definitely need to make sure you have coverage, so that you are not, if you said something wrong or you purposely told someone off, or whatever that is that you do, you want to make sure you have that coverage. 100%.
dang,
It's hard
okay.
when it comes to social media and all that other stuff. Most people, that's the last thing they think of until someone wants to come sue them.
Yeah, for like saying something to them, or
Yep.
like slandering their name or
Yep.
image on there. Wow.
Exactly.
Well, I guess that makes total sense. That's something I would never have thought of.
Yeah, me either. So have you ever had a claim that somebody calls, "Hey, Rob, I got a claim," and you're like, "No way, this actually just happened."
I think it happens more than you think. I've had this company insured for about 5-6 years now, and they they lease vehicles, trucks, big trucks. They deliver stuff, and never had an accident, never had anything. And they always say the rule of 3, where
Oh yeah.
they're driving along, and this kid hit a tree, and then it was like, okay, well, let's file a claim, get everything done, and then 2 weeks later something else happens where someone hits a sign, and it's like, I can't believe that's just happening, because it just doesn't make any sense why for so many years you have nothing, and then all of a sudden you just have multiple claims within 1 year. And the question is now, the first question is that my insurance rates are going to go up? Well, we're not going to know until probably 30 days before your renewal as to what it is and how much it's going to be. So it's a tough one.
Have you ever sat down with somebody and been like, "All right, this is really shady what they're trying to do"?
Yes, I've actually had an insured, this was multiple years ago, where he came in and he wanted to insure his bear rug. Because you've got scheduled items that you can insure, your art, your jewelry, your guns. He wanted to insure this bear rug. Well, it kind of was like, okay. I insured it. About 3 weeks later, he files a claim that the bear rug was stolen. Very shady. The really weird thing about that was he had already filed a claim with someone else prior to it, with the same rug being stolen. I didn't know about it until the insurance company calls me up and asks me questions. And I'm like, I don't understand. He's like, yeah. So that was the second time that he had put a claim in on the same.
So with obviously that's insurance fraud.
Yeah, 100%.
People who try and commit insurance fraud, do they usually work with an agent that's like on their side? Do like agents commit insurance fraud with, in a sense, people? Like, well, what is the?
I can't answer that question. Shady people out there, but everybody is trying to figure out a way to beat the system. I don't play that game at all. If I feel like something is off, as you had mentioned earlier, you asked me earlier, I don't want anything to do with them. You know, I'll quote everybody, but if you see things in, you know, there's so many algorithms about pulling reports, and now the world is getting smarter, or the internet's getting smarter about what coverage is and what you've had, if you had any losses or anything. I mean, there are times where you look at this and you're like, God, this guy's had this same claim or multiple claims of this over the years. I just pass. I'm just like, hey, I can't find anything that beats what you have. That's just the best answer.
You don't
Or we'll send them the quotes, but it's just declined, or that it's $10,000 and he's paying $2,000.
Don't give away the industry secrets. If I don't want to work with you. Plan looks great. I can't beat it.
That's what he said to me a couple months ago.
You're a different case, man.
So obviously insurance is great. You know, Ben and I have made a great living doing it. We always ask people, like, do you think money changes someone? You answered yes. You know, why do you think money changes people?
Money changes people depending on what they do with it. I mean, you know, we all were young and poor and we built our businesses. It's now what you want to do with it that makes the reason why I say it makes people change. When I made money back in the day when I was younger, I just spent. I spent it on everybody, hung out, did everything, went to bars, restaurants, took care of my buddies that were going to college or not going to college. It changed me from not having anything to having a little bit. And then once I think it's the circle of life. As you start making more money, you make changes to, you would think, better yourself, but sometimes it doesn't. It humbled me when I had to sell my agency through a divorce, unfortunately. And, you know, I went from making a lot of money to making nothing. You know, it 100% humbled me. It made me realize that I made mistakes in the past. What I did and how I did things made me the man that I am today from the mistakes that I made with having money. So it's...
Yeah, I think, you know, the quote is like, money doesn't change people. It just makes you more of who you already are. I think for myself, I agree with that of, you know, the more money that you make, you know, you kind of like, I have a personality that I would say, I just don't like when people follow stuff blindly. I kind of play devil's advocate. It always kind of annoys me. And like, in a sense, like hearing people talk about things and then it's like, okay, I've actually made money. I've gotten to have some experiences that they're talking about. It's like, okay, are you just saying that just because that's what everybody else says? So it's, in that sense, it's just made me more of who I am already. But at the same time, I have seen other people, you know, one day they're very humble and they start making money and then all of a sudden they think they're some big baller. So yes. I think that, I don't know. I think you're also right. I do think that money changes in a sense who you are, but also makes you more of who you already are.
Agreed.
So do you get to see a lot of people's, in a sense, financials? I mean, it must be odd to have a client that you've known for years and then all of a sudden they say, hey, I bought a Ferrari. And it's like, I don't know if you're making enough money to have a Ferrari.
Yes. I've had that, people that are making enough money, but they feel like they can make enough money to afford this, to people that actually started out with two partners and they started a construction business. And next thing you know, the housing market, what 5-10 years ago, whatever it was that big boom. And they went from making, you know, 30, 40, 50 grand a year, doing what they did prior to now owning their own construction company, to making $500,000, $600,000 a month. I mean, it's crazy. And then I've seen it and I see their financials. we write their insurance policies, then they get audited based on what they did. And then the numbers can change dramatically based on an audit of that's why your insurance is based off of sales or payroll. So with your sales, when you start up an insurance policy, you tell me, okay, well, what are your sales going to be this year? 100,000. And then it comes back to being $1 million. Well, now there's a $900,000 gap that the insurance companies do an audit, and you will have to pay the difference from what you originally paid to what you actually made.
So I heard that, so back in 2008, when all the banks collapsed, you heard about all these banks going down left and right. How do insurance companies stay so solvent? Because you didn't hear about any life insurance companies going down. You didn't hear any insurance companies. I'm guessing that has to do with underwriters literally taking a look at everything and having the right risk. But how do insurance companies stay so solvent?
Back in the day, insurance companies own buildings. They used to buy stuff. So when you see all these different buildings out there or hot skyscrapers, they were investing. It's like, that's a hard one to answer. So I don't want to answer it wrong, because I want to make sure that it's one of those, insurance companies make their money off of risk, right? So they actually underwrite their risks. When banks are going down and everything was being horrible, everybody still needs their insurance. You have to pay for it. Even when COVID hit, the federal government helped people out or did whatever, but guess what? Your insurance premiums, they did give a little bit of leniency, but you have to pay. Everything needs to be, you still have a home, you still have a mortgage, you still have your your loan on your vehicles. You don't want to put yourself in a worse position by not paying for your insurance in order for you to sacrifice to putting food on the table. And there was a lot of people that did that. And then sometimes, car gets stolen, you get in a car accident, someone hits you, doesn't have insurance, you don't have insurance, and that comes out of your pocket. That's a tough one. It's a big one. But I know I didn't answer your question as to how they stay solvent. It's
No, you did. You just, in a sense, mitigating the risk, knowing in a sense what you're taking on. We talk about it a lot with life insurance is, when you write a term life policy, they're banking on that you're not going to die.
100%.
The best thing for them is that you actually continue to live. You have the insurance in case you do die in some unfortunate circumstance, but they love when a 20-year-old gets life insurance because they're probably not going to die by the time they're 50. So, but yeah, I've always thought that was really interesting. I was listening to somebody and they were talking about how these life insurance companies, these insurance companies, they have their risk so underwritten that they know exactly what's coming on and off the books. And then you see these banks going down left and right in 2008. And I mean, State Farm's a good example. They started pulling out of California because it's a huge risk for them. Yep. You didn't see banks starting to pull those mortgages away because someone didn't have the money to pay it.
Correct.
I really like this question. This is kind of a fun one. So would you rather make $50,000 and be your own boss, or would you rather make $100,000 and work for someone else?
$50,000, be my own boss all day long.
Why?
I've been doing this so long. I'm not good at taking orders from somebody else. The other one I take orders from is Lori. Now, I can elaborate on that too, because I've worked for people, and sometimes their expectations of what their employees are unrealistic. For me, I do have employees, but I treat them as equals. I really do. And that could be a negative, but I feel like if you really like what you're doing and you can teach somebody and work with them instead of them working for you, or you work for someone, I just can't do it. I can't work for someone else. I can't punch in and punch out and, why are you leaving early, or why you're not staying late. I just couldn't do it. Yeah. Independence. That's why I'm an independent. Everything's about independent insurance agency, independent. I'm doing my own, merchandise company. I want to be in control. And it's not that I'm a control freak. I just don't like going under someone else's guidelines.
Yeah, I think negatively it's seen as being a control freak, but the actual term is freedom. As an entrepreneur, you love your freedom. You don't have to go see, hey, can I go on vacation with my wife? And someone can tell you yes or no. So yeah, I think that it's so interesting because you brought up employees, and I think there's some bosses out there for a lot of people where they expect their employees to be something that even they could never be. And I think those are the worst type of people to work for. But someone like yourself, where you look at someone, you have an expectation, but at the end of the day, all right, I'm the leader here. I'm just going to look at them as an equal and expect, in a sense, just a standard, not more than what I can actually even do.
All right. So what's one thing that people misunderstand about insurance?
I would say the biggest thing is that when you're writing an automobile insurance policy, the term full coverage was back in the day, 40, 50 years ago. I remember my father using it back in the Allstate days. What does that really mean? That's just a term that's used. It is full coverage is what it was back in the day was you have your liability, you have your uninsured, underinsured motorists, and your comp collision. Well, that term is just, that needs to go away. A lot of people think that they're fully covered when they're not. Because then you got your deductible, which is maybe 500 or 1,000. And now, lien holders or mortgage companies are allowing you to go to 2,500 or 5,000, which back in the day, no way. They wanted $1,000 so that people can afford to pay for the loss and have a little bit of stake in it. But with full coverage, you're looking at towing, there's rental reimbursement, there's gap coverage, which covers you with a lien that, you buy a car for $50,000 today, you drive off the lot, it's worth 30. Well, there's a gap there that the insurance companies are going to pick up because they're going to pay this amount. So you want to make sure that you get gap from the place you bought it from, or you get it through insurance, which we sell gap, or they call it something else now, but it's technically gap. It covers the difference between what you owe and what is the insurance company that's going to pay for.
I worked at Enterprise. They offer the car insurance when you rent a car. Where is where would you say is your break even point for getting the insurance through the rental car place, or would you ever get it through the rental car place?
That is a great question. And it is a hard answer because of the fact that you're already spending money to rent a car. Last thing you want to do is spend another $20, $30, $35, $40 a day to have full coverage. When you go to these places now, Avis, Rent-A-Car, Enterprise, they have lists. For $19.99, you can have just liability. For $59.99, we'll have the full thing covered no matter what happens. I mean, you pay for the insurance of $59 a day for 3 days, but you pay $39 a day for the car rental. Now you're doubling your price. It frustrates you. I travel a lot, so I get that. But as an insurance agent, and have been doing it for years, I pay it. Because you know what? You don't know what's going to happen. That's the unexpected thing. Now, I don't like paying for it, as most consumers don't want to pay for that. But you know what? It's freedom. It's peace of mind knowing that anything happens. And most people don't know, you rent a car and a rock flies up and hits the windshield, that's on you. That goes on your insurance. That's going to go on your record. It's going to affect you somehow, some way. If you travel a lot, I would definitely get it. If you travel once a year, I would also definitely get it. Why not pay the extra 60, 70, 80 bucks to make sure you're covered right?
Boom. All those people at Enterprise that said no to me in sales, listen to that. Boom. That was my thing. 2 or 3 days on the road. Like if you're going up for Memorial Day, going to the lake, whatever it is, why wouldn't you just pay the extra 60, 80 bucks and be like, I don't have to worry if I hit a deer, if I get a rock. Now you don't have to really worry about deer in Arizona, but like Midwest,
everywhere.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know. You don't know who's going to come after you.
Exactly. Where my fiance is from, they live out in the middle of the sticks. At night, anything could pop out, and then all of a sudden, that's a claim on your insurance. That affects you for such a,
Absolutely.
What? What's the
It's
look back?
5 years now. Back in the day, it used to be maybe 1 or 2 years, then it jumped to 3 years. Now, anything that you have on your record can go 5 years, and won't be surprised if it goes even more now. There are some things that you can, I'm not saying none of my insurance companies are doing this, but I can see that if you've had a DUI or any kind of a reckless driving or anything that's going to affect you getting insurance, it might go up to 10 years. You never know. It's just They're reaching out. And again, back to what you were saying earlier about, how they're coming up with the rates and everything. That's a major part. Now they're, 3 years you were thinking, all right, I had 2 speeding tickets within whatever. Now that's over 3 years, your rates will drop. Yeah.
So what happens? So I let my friend use my car and they get in a wreck. What happens?
Permissive use. If you allowed him to use your vehicle, he is covered under your policy because it is your policy. It's your car, your policy. So he is 100% covered if you allowed him to use it. If someone stole your car or if someone you didn't give permission to, then obviously there would be no coverage.
Wow.
Huh. I always think back to cops when they're like, "Yeah, so is this your car?" No, this is my
Here's the thing,
niece's car.
The $1 million question is like, let's say my truck gets stolen right now and goes down and robs a jewelry store and then next thing you know, wrecks 6 cars. Who's paying for all of that?
Yeah.
Is that on me?
Is it?
The insurance companies will have to subrogate and figure out who, and obviously that guy who did it or person that did the bad, he probably doesn't have any money and he's going to be in jail. So, what happens? Yeah, the insurance companies will have to pick that up. It's horrible.
Does it fall back in like a situation like you? Does it fall back as your car is in that
Your car, yeah.
It's your car.
It's my car that's involved, but you were not the driver. You didn't cause any of this. It's not going to go onto your record as you personally doing it, but it could show up on your CLUE report or an MVR, not an MVR report. It would show up on a CLUE report or on a report that is filed by the Department of Motor Vehicles for insurance purposes. So you're not going to be responsible to pay for that, but it's just one of those horrible instances.
All right, I got one more thing because you and I have talked about this in the past. Glass coverage. Would you recommend someone getting glass coverage on their car?
Oh, these days, because insurance companies are now charging, it used to be under a comprehensive loss, fire, theft, or glass. You could actually have it under your comprehensive with a deductible. But even then, it is now being a chargeable incident on your report. So to answer your question, that's a tough one. I mean, you got a $300,000 Mercedes or whatever, and it's going to cost you $5,000 to get that glass repaired. You might want to have it. Again, it's one of those things that insurance companies the last 2 years are, if you have more than one, let's say you have 2 vehicles, you can have 1 glass claim a year. Rule of thumb. And they're not going to cancel you, but that's not happening going forward. If you have 3 or 4 glass claims and you have no other tickets or accidents, I have some carriers that will decline you because they just know that the risk is going to happen, that they're going to be paying for glass coverages.
Well, yeah. And
that's a tough one.
Yeah, and I got my windshield fixed through insurance, and it shows up. It was within the last 5 years. It shows up. So that's why I asked, because that was one of the things that I've contemplated. When I look over insurance, is like, I don't drive at night. Like I don't drive a ton, but
there's, I have clients that have 6 glass claims, and it's pretty impossible to get them insurance now because of that. Insurance companies or they will take it, but they will not add glass coverage to it. So, it's been Arizona, you're right, in the whole United States is the worst state for glass. I don't know why it is so much worse than any other state because, there's roads everywhere. Yeah, we do have rocks, but why is ours so much worse than other states like California? I mean, there's way more cars. There's got to be debris. There's got to be things, but
It's probably because the speed limits are 100 miles an hour on the freeways.
Well, on the 101, 202, the 10, 17, whatever it is in Phoenix, there might be a ladder. There might be a something from a.
I saw chainsaws drop off a truck the other day.
I mean, you got to be head on a swivel because it's especially in the summer.
Well, you're right there with the summer. The heat does affect the glass. It will make them break quicker.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Once you're, the insurance, the glass companies they make, I think, most of their money from probably like April, May through October, September, October, because of just, for some reason, that glass gets so heated up. And as soon as a rock hits it, it
Wow.
spiders.
So what's worse to have on your record, an accident or a speeding ticket?
If you're talking just one accident or one speeding ticket, it's worse to have an accident. And that, there's a saying, not a saying, but there's a myth out there that, you have a $5,000 accident, that's how much the insurance company paid, or $100,000 accident. It's an at-fault accident. A lot of insurance companies, they might not take you if you were being switched to someone else, but when you talk about the dollar amount of what's paid in an accident, that has not become a big factor. Maybe it will be in the future as to how much the accident caused.
So I've heard stories about insurance companies driving by people's houses to do inspections. How much, in a sense, how much do the underwriters actually do? Are they going out to places to go scout them out if they think something's not true?
Over the last year, inspections are pretty much a must. The inspector, which is not the underwriter will actually go in and underwrite what we put in the system. And sometimes you just get a green light, which means you can just go ahead and bind. There's no questions behind it. But when you talk about a homeowner's policy, and a lot of the carrier do inspections after the policy is issued, then they're going to go in and they're going to check to see, okay, is this really a tile roof, or is it a concrete roof, or if it's slate? They want to make sure they're going in. Sometimes they do it, what they call a drive-by, where they'll do an outside inspection, or they will schedule one to do an inside and outside inspection. And some carriers are actually now charging for having a playground, or trampolines are a no. Anyone who has a trampoline, most insurance companies, they don't want that. The risk is just way too high. But they're charging for, as I said, swing sets, or if for some reason you forgot to put a pool down, Google Earth and all the other stuff, you can get a lot of information, and that's what our team does, is we get as much information as we can before we go ahead and provide a quote to somebody. Because of these other things, now some carriers are actually charging for children being in the house, because you don't think that a child will cost you anything. But what if your child takes all the toilet paper and shoves it down the toilet and then flushes it, and then now you have a big flood? I see it on both sides. I don't want to pay, why would I pay an extra $100 because I have two children living here? Well, the insurance companies have now maybe gotten smarter, or understand how or why claims are occurring is because they've occurred. So they've happened in the past. So now they're looking for this, and I'm not going to say that they're charging for things that they shouldn't. It just makes sense. But I feel that insurance companies should change the rating systems to make sure every one of these questions are asked before, so that they're not going out having to do inspections, especially with Google Earth. But Google Earth is wrong too, because I've had someone had a new roof put on last year, but the Google Earth was a year and a half ago that they last took the picture, and it said it was composition, but now it's tile. So then we have to actually do more work behind the scenes, get back with the client, because the client's upset because he's got a coverage, or he owes more money for something that he didn't know they didn't have. And it's, that's just part of our job. But
What do you think of Snapshot and those type of programs when it comes to your car insurance? Pro, con?
a little bit of both. It's just not as feasible and user-friendly to use. You have to keep your app open at all times. And there's an app, and there's also, you can do a plug-in. The fact of it, the savings that you get is amazing. But what I'm finding out is my older clientele, I had to go to their house, I had to put it on their phone, and then sometimes it'll pop up saying, will, allow us. They're hitting no, which turns it off. And then the insurance companies will send them a bill because they're not using it anymore. I think it's a great program, because especially for younger generation, If you show them what it is, it's tracking how fast you're going, if you're stopping, if you're driving too fast, it won't alert you, but you can also lose your snapshot or any type of device from different carriers. They all have their own little different devices.
So what about, okay, the speed limit's 60 miles an hour, the flow of traffic's 80. Does Snapshot know that, or are you just going to be the person who's holding traffic up?
Nope. That is unfortunately where it hasn't caught up to the flow of traffic, right? You don't want to be that last one, but you also don't want to be the first one to wherever you're going to, because it's the stop signs, as I said, the lights, if you're running, or I don't know if it can technically see if you're running a light, but it will track you where you go. You say you're going 2-3 miles to work every day and you're actually driving 20-30 miles. It can work against you as much as it can work for you. They do give 5, 10, 15%. Some of the carriers give that credit up front, and then it'll track you. And then at the end of your 6 months or the annual renewal, they will come back and say, okay, you did this, we're going to give you 3% this time around, or 6%. It's not like a written thing. I've never seen one person yet get the full 15 and then on the renewal get the full 15. I have a lot of friends of mine who do not want to be tracked at all. They think Big Brother's watching or whatever, which technically it is, because the fact of it being, you're getting a discount for the way you drive. If you drive slower, you might save more money on your renewal, but they do give you the discount up front, and they keep it for the 6 months of the year, depending on the policy that you have.
That's what I did. I mean, 15.
Try
Yeah,
it.
it was a lot less.
Got to try it.
Yeah, and it like tracks phone usage, hard brakes,
I
fast
forgot about that.
acceleration.
Yeah, your phone. If
That's-
you're on your phone,
yeah.
here's the bad thing. If you're using GPS, it shows that you're using your phone while you're driving. That's a bad thing. They haven't figured that part out yet.
Same with CarPlay. So like if you touch touch your screen on the CarPlay, like even if it's on your car, boom, it'll get you as hard.
No, it's good. That's it. It hasn't been mastered yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing. It really does. And maybe for the younger generation, if their parents can teach them, saying, "Hey, this thing's tracking you. It's going to go ahead and if you choose to have your kids pay for their insurance, they're a little older, they're working, you're paying $200 a month. Well, next year it might be $230, but I didn't get any tickets. I didn't get any accidents. Well, that's because you're driving, you're not stopping, you're, using your CarPlay, you're on your phone all the time." So.
I always think it's interesting, real quick, is the phone usage, and I'm like, it's made me a better. I will say, I am so much on my phone. I don't know my phone so much less, because like I know it's tracking me, but then again, I listen to a podcast and I'm like, skip through the ads. I'm like, no, there's usage.
Rob, thank you so much for coming on the show. If somebody wants to connect with you, where can they find you?
They can find me through my website, samatoinsurance.com, or they can email me at rob@samatoinsurance.com.
And we'll have all of Rob's information, social media, website, email, phone number down in the show notes in the description. But again, thank you so much for coming on, Rob. I really appreciate having you.
It was fun. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.